We are back, everybody, with Out of Your League, and Kyle Amor is back. He was so good the last couple of weeks that we've kept Mark Flanagan away. We told him to stay on his holiday, Kyle.
Is that
stay
true?
away.
Right, stay away, Flash,
as we keep saying, great-looking guy.
Yeah.
Occasionally pops up with a question every 7 episodes on the podcast, but looks great.
Yeah.
Doesn't he?
He looks the part.
If you watched all the episodes on Out of Your League on mute, you'd be very impressed, wouldn't you? You know, all the modelling contracts would be coming in. Perhaps not as many as they used to back in the day when you knew him around 2014.
No, very good-looking lad.
Great looking guy.
One of our guests knows that.
Yes,
particularly well.
Well, if you are listening and you're not watching, let's give them some clues, shall we? We've had to have the sofa reinforced today, because there's 40 stone of twin on the sofa opposite, combined, not just on Andrew's side. Two big boys.
Two big boppers.
This is the big boppers. This is a prop fest, I would say. Andrew and David Fifita, welcome. Thank you so much for hanging around and speaking to us. How are you guys?
Nothing.
Good
at the moment.
This is brotherly. Sure. This is twin love reignited, because you've been away from each other for a while, and you basically came over, Andrew, to surprise him, right? How long have you been in town for?
Since Thursday, literally. Maybe, how long has it been? 4 days, 5 days? Yeah, something like that. And then I changed my flight. I was meant to fly in, fly out, but he was meant to fly out yesterday. So
I know
it's a long trip. So,
but you came over for David's 150th Wakefield game.
Yeah,
right?
That was it. That was the main thing. I've always been on the other side of things where people were presenting me stuff. So I just thought, it'd be the perfect opportunity for myself to fly over.
We saw how affectionate you are with each other on your Instagram. You call each other by the C-bomb, just as affectionate. That's just. But you had no idea he just suddenly walked down your street.
Yeah, that's it. No idea. Just the day started off emotional, like with the family, wishing you a happy 150, like you said, in front of all the boys. I gave her a good message saying, "You bitch." Pretty much, I hate getting in tears in front of all the boys and all that, and. Yeah, it started off like that. Then I pretty much went home. When they dropped me home, it was probably about 12:31 after captain's run. Yeah. Just sitting there bored. I was like, what am I going to do now? Then getting phone calls off from one of my other mates, Jared Zammit. Yeah. And he's just said, what are you doing? For coffee? And I said, yeah, come around, please. I think I was in the middle of shaving me back. He was shaving his back, that's all. I
did see the back on the video.
You can see the big carpet rug at the back. So I tried to do my best, and then someone else has to come in and get some impact off the bench for it.
It was half finished in the video, wasn't it? There was a little mohawk on the back there.
So I was expecting him to come finish it off for me.
And the back.
Yeah, it was good. He said someone ran up his arse. I was around the back of the car. That's why you see me looking around the back. And then you just look at him, and he's just... big camera out like that on me. I'm like, what are you doing, you idiot? And here comes, Andrew walking around the corner.
Before we get stuck into your story, and Kyle, it's an amazing story with these two. I mean, look, you've run into David a few times. Not Andrew, you never played against Andrew?
No, never played against Andrew.
You wouldn't want to. Amazing. But you have sort of, so you've only 34, you two now, right? You've just played in the 4th tier, Andrew, for Criggleston. Yeah. How was that come about? Because I mean, you did that last year, David, didn't you?
Say it's 4th tier. You keep going lower than that.
8th tier. What is it?
Yeah, mate. I was against maybe a 70-year-old.
A 70-year-old.
Yeah, man, he was.
Is he still with us?
Sorry for him. I think he had one hit up, and Edge just jumped on top, and everyone knows we like to just get on top of it. And then even everyone on the sideline.
David, what was the reaction like when they see Andrew turn up?
Well, we first walked in, he goes, hold my boots, please. I don't want to hold my boots walking in. So they didn't think it was true, but then we've rocked up because I've worked with Crig now for the last year and a half. Yeah. And everyone who comes over from Oz, I said, mate, get your boots out your plane, mate. We'll get you registered, everything. So got registered, and it was a good feeling. I said, get out there, run with the boys. And he had a captain's run on Thursday. Yeah. Had some fun. The first day he got in, he was running around with the boys.
Brilliant.
I didn't think he could get out there, but jet lag was all right. So jet lag, broken legs, yeah, still sweet. Yeah.
I mean, you look in unbelievable shape still for the end of your career.
Man, no.
Well, is that maybe it's the black T-shirt? Maybe it's the
black slimming.
Thinning, isn't it? Slimming. The 29th of June, though, 1989, Carl. What a day that was when these two popped out. Who came out first? I feel sorry for Mum, to be honest.
28th of June.
28th of June.
Someone's probably changed it. Yeah. I was number one.
You were number one. So
you're always number one.
Like a couple of minutes older or whatever it is.
10
minutes. 10
minutes. I was like king of the ring. I just kicked him out, you know what I mean? So,
And this is Blacktown, New South Wales.
Yeah.
So let's go right back to the
So that
Fifitas.
like what? Yeah.
What was childhood like for you two in Oz?
we grew up in Housing Commission, or as a council house over here. So we grew up there,
Little place called Dooney, down Doonside.
single. Parents broke up from a young age.
How young?
6 or 7, yeah.
Yeah, 6, 7 maybe. Still seeing Dad was in and out, but I don't know what else the kids.
Yeah, no, we grew up
It was
like-
tough. It was tough.
Yeah, a real rough area. Some of the boys have been showing the rough areas around here, but it's not.
Nothing
Kinda,
compared to
no,
what you
yeah,
see.
it's different. It's really different. That's what I said. Like we were on the street since a young kid. Like I don't think anyone. Like I got kids, and I wouldn't send my kids out there. The age we were running around, and especially how far we were. Look, we love home. Dooney will always be home for us. This was my junior club there. It's just a little place, with, you know,
I think there was a few
Sydney's
of us.
West. Yeah.
Took a picture the other day with Blake Austin and Jared Zammit. We're all from the same hood, pretty much.
Yeah.
And, it was tough, but it was like it's home. That's where you probably get that call from, and
Yeah.
probably why we speak like this at the same time. There is probably some good people there, but the majority of us pretty much are wild like this and talk.
Yeah, and look, you're obviously from Australia's Indigenous and Tongan descent. Where did the Tongan side come from in the family?
Dad's full Tongan,
Yeah,
and Mum's got the Indigenous Australian in her, so it's
yeah.
Pretty
And,
good-
and
good mix.
brothers and sisters, apart from obviously Latu played for Workington over here in the UK. Was it just the three of you? Was there more?
I've got like a foster family where that's mum, dad to me. Pretty much 13, really in and out of home for me was different. Like I was more of a runner. Like I would never be home on weekends and that kind of stuff. I found that, I guess we used to call it the crim life, and here would be loved up in other terms. But I don't know. We would rather be places like that wasn't home. Like you'd meet people and they would have like a gun house. Oh, they got food. Oh, you know, little things like that kind of stuff. Like he's got a PlayStation. Let's go have a crack.
always at home. Like, she always had food in the house, in the cupboards and stuff like that. But it was probably just like your noodles, your bread, milk, stuff like that. But when you go on and get the like actual bread stuff, it's like, oh, that's nice.
So I don't know what it's like in England. That's the main thing. We're black and gold, home brand. Like they're the low end of like kind of food where, you know, there's some upper hand classy food where it's like, oh, you can tell the difference. But for me, we haven't changed. That's who we are, and it's never will change.
Still going to Asby now, but still just looking at them. No, I'm not paying that. Not paying that.
Andrew, you said at 13, David was all loved up. You said you were out and about. What kind of things were you out and about doing? Where?
We used to thrive on just getting in trouble. Like when a Thursday, Friday night come, like you just wait. Like the thrive was. That's why we probably so fit. We were young, skinny, cross country, like great runners when we were younger and all that. And we used to just thrive on getting in trouble. We don't know why, but it was just one of them lifestyle we had. So we got a police officer chasing us. We throw like eggs at police cars, and it was just from that. And
It was just, a lot of adrenaline. I think that was the main thing for us. And everyone knew like how quick we were over long distance. Anything over long distance was our go-to. I know we're big poppers now, but it's like when...
legs haven't changed, either.
I think 15, 16, he moved down to Griffith, little country town. It's a bit far. How would you explain it here? Like,
It's kind of like Cumbria.
That's where this fella's from.
Yeah, I know.
Nice part of the world.
if you mission all the way down there, yeah. So we're like Sydney's west, and then you're 7.5 hours away. And then he come back, and then pretty much I got charged, and I had to go down there. So my bail conditions wasn't allowed in Sydney alone.
Well, we're skipping through all sorts of stuff here.
Yeah.
So before the trouble came and that side, and running away from the police and the gangs and the violence and all that, which I want to get into if we can, would you say it was a happy childhood for both of you?
I loved it.
Yeah.
I
My older brother was a bastard to us with Jared, like
Yeah.
Zammit, and he they bullied us as kids. But he didn't grow no much more. We've grown and now we bully him, so it's great. But yeah, I wouldn't change it. Like I said, he's like my best mate growing up. Everything was there.
What is it like being a twin?
Oh, I don't know. You feel everything. Pretty much you feel everything. You know, when he's gone down some tough rides, and then, you know, also when he's the happiest person alive.
So, I mean, because I'm friends with George and Tom, Burgess boys, and they've kind of tried to describe it to me that there is like a telepathy in there. You sense something
from... I
from...
believe it. So I was more the aggressive, like, if I seen him get punched, I'd start crying and I'd flog whoever's, like, going near him. On the field, we played, under 15s away from each other, and then from the next years on, we weren't allowed to play because... I overheard some guy on my team say he's going to hit him. I took my jersey off and ended up flogging my own teammate.
So are you the more protective because you're 10 minutes older, or how does that relationship work?
Just the same. We'll jump in. I'll jump in. It just doesn't matter. Like, you just do feel each other's emotions and stuff like that.
Which is mental, isn't it, when you think about that? You're that connected and more connected than any other siblings could probably imagine being.
Well, like we said, we've got an older brother. I'm blessed with 3 other little brothers and that, but they're, you know, you can't, it's a weird sense, like, between us two. I could jump in and just sit with him all day. And it's just a thing. I think since 2016 has been the toughest for myself because he's been over here. But at the same time, I see how much Wakefield has really embraced David, and I guess everything that I've earned at Cronulla is pretty much him in England at Wakefield. So that's what I thoroughly believe, except for delivering a comp on my back end.
I started that. Shouldn't have left. No, don't regret it one bit.
When did you two realise that there was a rugby league talent in there, and who nurtured that in you?
We were always like coming up because we always used to bash each other. You know what I mean? Kids, twins, rivalry, all that kind of stuff. We always we played soccer at 4 and 5 years old. The coach said, "Get them out of here." Never go to rugby league. Like, they're just too full on. Remember doing like a karate class, got asked never to come back because we just wanted to fight everyone.
That's what karate's for, isn't it?
Yeah, but they're just doing these. We started just fighting each other and stuff like that.
MMA would have been great for you too, wouldn't it?
And,
if UFC was around then.
Yeah, I don't know.
It just, I guess with footy, the team, you always noticed, especially being out west, the team will win.
Andrew, just take your mic up a little bit for us up there. That's it.
Sorry,
perfect.
keep grip.
Average sized penis away from your mouth. Sort of.
I think the team will win. Really never looking because we just love to fight on weekends. You're looking at, he was a centre, I was a fullback. I know we weren't the standout players, but we always delivered, like, when it come to playing footy. Like I said, a lot of the boys like who we played against, who really excelled when we were juniors, really didn't kick on. Where my little stint down Griffith, and he kind of went out of nowhere to out west, where I didn't know how he was going, but I personally knew, like, I was getting chased for 3 years straight. So that's how I knew something was going on, but I still didn't care. I didn't want to play football. Yeah. I just wanted to stay in the country. So I took one opportunity, trialled down at the Sharks, and out of that, I had 6-7 phone calls that night asking, would you sign with us? We'll give you a contract. And this was for under 20s, and I said, whoever signs me, brother, I'm committed to. So it was either that or union I was going to choose. So, yeah.
Were clubs reluctant at the time because we're getting in into the? Are you sensing that we're getting into the area of them being in trouble and running away from the police? It sounds like some Grand Theft Auto in Sydney we're about to go near here.
Well, no one really knew. Look, I went from 2 years signing in, like 3 days a week down in Griffith. Not even my school knew, like, my situation where I was by myself down there. It was kind of different, two different lifestyles. I guess David would be grateful for his partner now that he got to stay pretty much there on weekends and that kind of stuff. Not saying nothing about, like, where we grew up. It was just we both had an individual meet, and then we just met and then pretty much played 20s together, and it was one of those, all we needed was 1 year to prove to everyone how good we actually were.
We did make a rep, like, team beforehand. Yeah. But you just prefer to play with your mates and have a laugh and ball. You know what I mean? I think it wasn't from until 19 years old. We just said, stuff it. We're all right at this. We'll just keep going with it.
Was there ever a point where all that was sort of under threatened? You know, you must have came with a bit of I know you talked about that they didn't quite know that you were signing in 2-3 days.
Yeah.
But was there ever a point where that could have bit you in the ass, that how you were behaving off the field to then getting a gig in the NRL?
I reckon it was more of a shock. I didn't know we can get paid for football, to be honest. I thoroughly did. I was living off our wage in 20s, and I didn't know first grade gave you matches. And then he had a stint. He didn't really kick on as much in 20s, where he started with us and we'll come off the bench, and then I kind of excelled out because I started playing like him. I wanted to defend, I wanted to do all the little stuff in that, but Dave, I don't know, it was his attitude problem, but I was a bit of a nutcase. I look back at our 20s coach, and he was our recruitment officer for years, and everyone was saying, what's your goal, what do you want to do? And everyone was like, I want to make first grade, and I couldn't give a rat's ass about first grade. I don't even know what first grade really was. My goal was to make my titties go dun, 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 dun. And I said this in front of everyone, when I'm playing my best footy, we're having a laugh. And every for those 20s games, for me coming from the country and playing against people our own age, I kind of took advantage of that because we're playing men. It was the same with him in Penrith comp. He was playing men, and then we would rock him with a boombox, a pie, and just whatever, a big can of V or a Red Bull.
Just on that though, Dave, obviously you being at Wakefield, you're a massive character, always got a smile on your face. I think back to players that I've played with, Ali Lauatiti, he was always smiling. How important is that as a player? Because I think nowadays we get so caught up on everything being that serious that sometimes it's a bit refreshing and it brings energy, doesn't it? Yeah. When you've got a player who's maybe not as, I'm not going to say rat's ass because I don't want to insult, but when he gives off that impression I am who I am, this is what I do, I'm here to do what I want to do. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, is that something that you play up to? Is that something that you're aware that you bring that energy, or is that just who you are?
Just you know what I mean? We always got taught, probably the same as Andrew. As soon as we don't do nothing wrong. We just go into any game really. As soon as you cross the white line, that's when it's time to switch on the field. But you also need to get in their heads and just have a laugh and joke around with them more and pushing people around. But outside, in the sheds, I love to just gene up, put my headphones on, dancing, smiling, laughing. I remember there was one time where Lee and Finn, I think we versus Wigan or something, and we had our corner and we were all just dancing, laughing, joking around, smashing each other. And then it was him who come over and he goes, you need to switch on. And I started laughing. I said, mate, we are, relax. We're going to go out there. I think Bill Turbo ended up coming back and killing it for us. And I think we ended up beating them. We were down 20 points or something like that. We ended up beating them over that Easter period. And then he come back in after the sheds and he apologised. He goes, sorry, boys, you do what you want. You do what you want. But it's just things like that. It's what we try to bring you try to get everyone involved as a social person. I think every team needs a few characters in the team. And I felt that was probably it. That's probably more the reason I come back to Wakefield this year.
Who were your sort of Coach Carters in the sense? Because you've painted this image, and for those who don't know your background, and if I'm being too nosy, tell me to shut up, but you were kind of separated because you were with this foster family and Dave was obviously off doing his thing. But who was the mentor? Who were the people that actually said, look, Andrew, get your head together, focus, because this can be your career?
I think everyone tried. Literally.
Someone succeeded.
I'm serious. Even
from the age of young, they just said, mate, if you two switch on, you can be something like that. And we're just nah, just laugh and joke.
It was always like that. We knew, at the end of the day, and the way I look at that footy in that, it's a job at the end of the day. And anyone judges you on 80 minutes of footy. So the way you are through the week, the way you were at training, and mate, I could rock up eating Maccas and that and still win whatever fitness test you had. It was ridiculous how fit we were.
But where does that come from in you? Where does that resilience come from? Obviously, you're genetically blessed in that sense.
Just running from the police, I reckon.
But not even that. It's to be honest, I never had any resilience, I reckon.
That can't be true.
When I hit 2014, I went the whole 2013. I was literally the world's best player by stats, by my achievements on the field, by I created this hype. I come over here and we end up killing it for Australia and we end up winning the World Cup. It was the journey that I had through that year where I was at the pinnacle of thing, but then the next year I just hit rock bottom. I don't know why it was at the end, but I never learnt that until I promised everyone I'll give him 2 years, and then I promise I'll go back into rehab. Like, that's where I learnt how to be resilient in the little things. Like,
just on that, we talk about sometimes with players, when you win a comp, it's very hard and difficult to get yourself back up to that height. We're winning a World Cup over here with Australia. Was that anything to do with why you perhaps sort of went rock bottom, or was it completely just other issues apart from rugby league?
it was different. I'd never had any, I guess, media really support us. We were the no ones. I remember coming in the first grade and going, oh, I wish I was Benji Marshall, all that. Benji Marshall was getting all the media type. I remember Gareth Ellis was getting it all, and we're like, oh, if we could be him one day, I'm telling you. And it did. It actually was. When I went to Cronulla, I just had my son, and then everything was just flowing, like literally. Then like played All Stars, and ended up going straight into City Country come Origin come into the test teams. I ended up getting married. So I was living like really, really high, where the following year I had media backlash, and then the Sharks had a really bad year off field because of the SADA drama, and then I couldn't get going again. I come back from World Cup, I wasn't due back to training until halfway through Feb. So my first week was playing in the Auckland Nine, so I never got my body right. Like I said, I was fit, could do anything, but it was more trying to get going again. And I couldn't, I kept breaking down, and injuries happened, and the backlash started happening. He's not the same. And then you start listening to that outside noise a bit, where I ended up falling into depression, where I didn't realise we didn't grow up learning about mental health or anything. So, yeah.
That media backlash you talk about, it's obviously, David, it's not something that we get over here, is it? You know, the media, you know, it's almost, you know, not even on the back 6-7 pages of any paper, really. You know, how do you handle when it is that? Was it almost they were attacking you personally? How, and if so, why? Like, what was the?
When you're one of the best players in your team, like, of course you're going to cop it. We're copying it left, right, and centre. We've had a lot of controversy over the years, but no one knew the stories, because in my intentions, I didn't want to keep lighting the fire. Like, if there's a fire going, I'm not going to have my piece and they just switch it up on you. Yeah. I guess over here, to be exact, it would be like if a soccer player or Premier League player got in trouble.
That's in Australia.
Back page, just back page. I had media camping at the side of my house just because of some of the stuff. So it was quite tough. I've never ever been on the other hand of it. I just felt like a caged animal in my house. I couldn't leave, or my family couldn't move, and had to move out to my missus' in-laws just to get away from it all. So.
Tell us if you can, because I know there's a lot out there on the internet that's not a secret and so on. But come on, just give it some real talk. What kind of trouble are we talking? You mentioned earlier bail conditions and so on. Why were you in and out of that world?
One of them, I'll tell them about the tractor.
Oh, you can tell about the truck because we've been charged that. Like, yeah.
We're just bored, you know what I mean? It was me, Andrew, and a couple of other mates. And who would afford a pair of scissors would start the tractor, or excavator.
So they were building a highway.
They're building a highway, we just...
Anything we
it was just all these like smaller trees, and we just thought it'd be fun to smash them all and take them down. There's two hanging off the side. There's one person driving, obviously, and then one person sitting behind the little driver's seat, stuff like that. You know what I mean? We're just boys having fun.
Yeah.
And then we seen sirens come, and we just knew it was all over. So we just pretty much ghosted like a bike into this creek, and we just said, "Go, just go, just go." Everyone just. They didn't catch us, but unfortunately, the lady up the road dobbed us in.
And they rocked up to the house, and we were a bit smarter. We jumped in our boxes and that, and just said,
sweating,
but like we walked out of the house going, "What's going on?" So like that was one thing, but for my reasoning why, where I had a cousin, we're around drug dealers. A mate of mine's a fellow neighbour was getting abused from his neighbour, and then a lot of us boys rocked up, and then they wanted to clean one-on-one, but the one-on-one was my cousin, Ula, and I was like, okay, I'll let it go. And normally I'm the enforcer guy, but there was a lady hiding in the bush and baseball bat him straight in the face, and then he had a butcher's knife and started whacking, and then I ended up, all my cousins and my friends were scared, like they were just like in disbelief, so I grabbed the samurai sword and had it up to the guy's, this dealer's throat, and that's when the police come in and guns drawn and that, and I threw the knife, and thank God, like they couldn't find it. I don't know where it went. So, but from that, I had to leave Sydney.
Did rugby league? I don't want to say save you, but
rugby league wasn't involved.
No. But what I'm saying is, did rugby league sort of take you away from that world, save you from a world that perhaps you could have gone into?
In a way, like it wasn't we never made a rep team growing up.
Yeah.
It wasn't a priority in life like rugby league. My job, I was going down to Casella's to pick farm, pick fruit.
Yeah.
I love the country life where rugby league was just.
So rugby league chose you. You didn't choose rugby league.
Yeah, that was it, literally. So
I think what Will's saying, that if it hadn't have been for rugby league, what would have Andrew Fifita been, or where would he be right now?
Most way he'd be driving the truck and I'll be working with Gyprock with him. But that's tough work. That was crazy. Yeah. Like I don't know. If it wasn't for rugby league, I'd be doing something like I'll be a carpenter or something, like somewhere a tradie or something. I couldn't honestly tell you, because in school I did my HSC or whatever.
He hasn't got a certificate. He's doing.
But it was all below 30. Like it was like nothing. I sat there, wrote my name on the paper, and just done.
Could a crime or a career in crime, could that have seriously been something that you probably would have looked at, knowing that if you got involved in that sort of junior petty crime?
What's the strike rate in Griffith now at the moment?
If you don't get out, is what I'm saying, would you?
Yeah, once you get stuck in there, we try to, like, even for the young, like, the youth come through the ranks. So, like, in the early Sharks years, we try to get them up there. You have to get out of Griffith. And there's a lot of talent down there, but they just get stuck in there. It's one of them towns where it's run by certain people.
And especially out west, like, for me, I reckon I would have been in a bikie gang. Like, it's one of those. I love being in a group. I love being in the boys. And if you're from Sydney's West and you don't know a bikie, then you literally haven't been outside your house.
Well, I read a quote from you, Andrew. I don't know where it was. I mean, there's all, like I say, all sorts about over the years on the internet. But you said, I sort of already realised that if I didn't leave the streets of Sydney, I might go to jail for good.
Yeah.
So that was a realisation for you. There was a moment.
Yeah. Well, you don't understand what you got. Like, well, I never been out of Western Sydney or Griffith. Like, that's, for us, it's a dome. We don't go out to all these privileged stuff where I'm from at the moment. Like, it's two different worlds. And that's just respectfully. I'm not saying in a way, like, I'm just used to Houso life. That was it. We're grateful for $2 chips. I'm not going to have a 3-course meal, and I'm a bit still stingy like that these days. It's one of those things that's just embedded with us. Like,
so what's the biggest lessons then from your childhood? What do you feel that, you think back, and Andrew, you talked about having kids. David, have you got kids as well?
Yeah.
Like, what's the biggest sort of takeaways that you get out of growing up in a place like that?
See, a bit different, like, for me, or when I was 15, I said, mate, we need to get away. I think we're going to have to split up. I think I sat in the kitchen and said, I have to go. And then I ended up going down to Griffith first. And
so that was a conversation between the two of you. That's when
family, mum as well.
How hard was that to leave your twin? Your telepathic?
It was hard, because, like, that's all we did every day. We just hanged out with each other. We had a mate down the road, a few mates down the road, and that's all we did. And it was just causing trouble. And I think it was our second caution. And then the next one, you pretty much
it's 3 strikes and it's done.
So I just said, I want to focus on school, and if you couldn't get a record, I probably wanted to join the police force after school and stuff like that. So I just said, I need to get away from it all and try focus, and that was it. And then when he started getting in a lot of trouble, and I came back, and then he ended up moving. We just done the switch. I met my wife, so I'd probably say she got me out of everything, really. So,
and, I mean, obviously, Andrew, you had the first glimpse of NRL, right? Playing at West with Mark Flanagan, who's normally here. He's on holiday. But, so you saw a very good-looking Mark Flanagan in 2010, before the scars and the bruises, and he was born with a silver spoon up his arsehole. So he couldn't be from a further background away from yours.
Yeah, that's flash. You can't. Look, I think I was most probably the little chirpy thing coming through, like, from first grade, and I was real, I guess, arrogant in a way when I first met them all, and I don't think any of them like me, because there's that one HK like in training, and do they know what HK means? Like,
translate that for us.
Oh, Harry. Like, I didn't let no one tackle me. I didn't care if it was a little tackling drill, or I wanted to show my authority, and that come off because had a little scrimmage match with like the first grade team and us, and then Benji ended up throwing a ball at me, and it was kind of in the media all through because we had this big stink, but then kind of divided the group a bit. But I personally, I just wanted the best preseason I possibly can, and
credit to Flash for coming over as well. Yeah. And like, you do have your youngins who sit there and stuff like that, and then you got the old boys there and people who come, they sit like around in their groups type feeling. And he just come and sat with us the whole time. He just like, I don't know much of just with us. Just sit.
He was a Benji Marshall fanboy that was there as well.
But he also come over with Gareth Ellis, and that was the biggest thing. We had 2 English blokes come in, and it's not in a bad way, but he come under, it's Gareth Ellis. Like, he come to the West Tigers, and he'll go down as one of the best back rowers ever to play for the club. I don't know how he went in England, but like, mate, the respect, the respect I have for Gareth Ellis is massive. But I don't want to say Flash was in his shadow, but he literally was. Like, we had 2 English players come in, and if I had to choose one, you'd go with Flash. Same position. Flash was coming off the bench with me for a bit, but then, you know, he was a bit stuck here. I think he played with you at Balmain, was it? Yeah.
Come back to Balmain, played with us for a little bit.
Yeah. So they split us up. Like, if I went on a bye weekend, I'd go play at West, and he'd be at Balmain, and then we would just beat him every single time.
Am I right in saying you were playing in France before?
Yeah, 2013.
That's a long way from home at that stage, before you'd made your NRL debut.
Well, from that, after that year, ended up staying at Tigers again for the following year, but we went to West, and like I said, I had a kid young, just wasn't doing well, and like had to work all day, then go training at night, and then work at night, trying to just survive, really. And then the opportunity come in France. I said, let's just go travel, stuff it. I've had enough. So I just dropped footy and everything, and just went over there for I think it starts in September. I ended up dropping rep footy in like May, and just said I'm playing with my mates, my local A grade team, and then we'll go over there in September. But I grew to love the game again over there. I loved every minute of it, and how much time you spent with your little family. So it was good.
So how did the move to Wakefield come about? When did that come to light?
I'd started. So I remember when David first come back, and I was like, Flano, my twin's coming back. Like, and I had a bit of a pull at the club, and I was like, my twin's coming back. You know, I'm going actually well. I rated David better than me, but it was just discipline with David where, you know, I feel like that's where he lacked a bit. And I was like, if he comes, and Flano was like, nah, sweet, nah. So he went back to West, and the Monday night, West were actually playing Cronulla. And David had a blinder. He killed it. He kicked all the goals. He kicked the goal to beat our team. And then I remember Flano coming down the stadium and goes, bring him in Monday. Don't just fucking bring me on Monday. And I was like, all right. And then he was with us for that season. And then it was just like that. But then,
it was a good feeling that year too, because I went down to Melbourne as well. It was great. It was a go tour down there, mate. Their stadium's immaculate. And then I ended up just going there. He goes, it was more my wife. She goes, we're not moving away again.
So just on the discipline thing, because for me, when I'm listening to the Perriers, it actually seemed like you had the discipline to get out of that and move away.
Yeah.
When you're talking about discipline, you're talking just purely footy.
Because I rocked up to Tigers at 104 centre. We made it a centre.
I rocked up 123.
And then they go, he rocked up 122. So we go, want to bulk you up? Mate, I don't want to bulk up. I want to stay out wide. And then,
what are the measurements today?
Mate, you go up, and then probably the same, but but then you did the same thing. I ended up going back row majority of the year. Then I ended up getting dropped from back row, and then they just said we want Fifita on, Fifita off on the bench and start, and just kept on flipping. So that was probably the worst thing. I have to put on kilos. I didn't want to play at 100. I don't want to go to prop. Mate, I want to be a back. But here I am today. So that's why we probably have a different style of playing, like in prop. Not your average one who's just going to run straight and hard at players and stuff like that.
You've turned yourself into a cult hero at Wakefield, hasn't he, Kyle? I mean, unbelievable how you're considered not just around the rugby club, but of the town and everything you've done for that sort of area. Over a couple of spells there as well. But when you're then watching your brother back home in their NRL, was there a feeling initially, before you became such a fan's favourite, you were thinking, hold on, I want a slice of that NRL pie, and I'm over here at little Wakefield at the time?
Not a chance.
No.
Mate, their pre-season's on another level. I've always, one of my dreams was just to travel the world, and I'd rather stay over here and go travelling around Europe and all that kind of stuff. And I'd rather just be travelling the world rather, like with the family. Take me family around the world. That's one of my life goals, and we've done a lot of that with my wife and my son and my daughters, and it's been great. I've never regretted one move back. There was more like I wanted to go back and play probably a game with him. I wanted him to come with us at Wakefield and finish together. But other than that, I never wanted to go back to how hard training was.
I think it was the best thing, him coming over here. Because it was always Andrew's twin brother or Andrew Fifita's like twins out there with him. Like, he never really got out of my shadow over there, where he come over here and he exploded. He's his own man. If I was coming over here now, David Fifita's twins here with him. Like, that's where, you know, all the accolades that he's got over here, I'm honoured to be his brother, like, to come over here and just enjoy it.
Was there ever a temptation for you towards the back end to come over here? Because I always remember your name circulated when we were at St Helens. Now, I don't know if there's any truth in that or not, but maybe you can share if there was.
Yeah, no, Wolfie, because we were in the Tongan team together and that, and I had a fuckwit of a coach, and like, literally, like, it was just one of those things. I was going to go, I had talks with Wolfie and that when we were in camp, and then I thought, like, towards the back end, and like to come over here for the rest of the year and then go back under Fitzy and that. But that was the only time really, like, I was really thinking about it. I had a 5-year deal that pretty much cemented my family's future. So I didn't want to drop it and just leave it. So that was the main thing. And the commitment till I got to the club, where pretty much went through nearly 2 years of just like literally copying it off the coaches and that, and then to have Fitzy come in and really boost that morale back up. But for me, I'm just a team player. Whatever the team needs, I was all for.
Just, you mentioned Wolfie there in Tonga. Obviously, I got to work under Wolfie for a couple of seasons. But what's it like then, or you know, what is the actual desire to play for Tonga? Is there still desire in there between? And David, you're obviously still playing now.
Not me. I'm 34, like you said. No, I can't go back there. They're just too fast, I reckon, for me. They're another level. I think Tonga's grown as like a country, and they're no longer like a second-tier country. You have to look at them as a strong, powerhouse country that's playing now. Samoa's doing. I just think it's good for the world game, really.
As a forward pack, and especially when we all made the commitment, I think we had maybe the hardest forward pack to try and crack into. That was the thing where back in the days when we were playing for Tonga, like, it was just, I'll play, I'm in. Where these days, once we made the commitment, we followed it through. We showed our loyalty and kept it. So, it's different.
And how much of a, I remember that time when, you're seeing Tonga and Samoa start change. A lot of their, the country heritage players or the actual, Tongan lads were committed to that. How tempting was that then to get away from, for not just yourselves or other people who perhaps could have easily walked into a New Zealand or an Australia?
I think it was more sacrifice. It was like, I knew I was walking away from 50 grand. It's how much Australia get paid for going to the World Cup. I knew I was walking away from that. It's Australia. No, I'm not being cocky, but we're winning the World Cup. And it's not disrespectful. It was just, I just knew we'll be in the top 3. Where I already won a World Cup. I was going in with Tonga, and as a father, I know how much I'm doing for kids sport. And I remember what Dad used to do for us and take us down the park, and we would wrap our socks up and kind of make a football with it and do all the little things. Like, it really takes its toll. So, but he was always there for those little moments. For example, I told my old man, I remember telling the boys at Koori Knockout, like, I made Australia. And they told it a day early, and I was just like, and everyone was like, yeah, congrats. Told me, man, he was like, proud of you, how good. Then when I made the decision to go, look, it's not, I'm going to play for Tonga. And then I told him, he dropped and cried. That was the difference. But for me, and like go back to being, if it was someone from soccer and all that kind of stuff, I got chased out of my house. Like, it was media just camping outside my house. I turned away from my home country. Like, it wasn't a nice feeling. I had to run away out west. I stayed out west with the in-laws. I walked up to the pub and up to just to go get dinner. I was getting sprayed by Australians. I was getting sprayed by anyone who was seeing it. Like, it wasn't that. It was just the one thing that finally shut their mouths when I showed the video of my grandfather speaking on how much this would do for Tonga. And I have no regrets. I've got more playing out of Tonga than I ever did with Australia. Australia, I walked in the country with a medal around my neck and that was it. Yeah, you're a world champion at one stage. Yeah. With Tonga, I have we've got 2 days off. I'm a commander in the army over there, like with the second highest medal in there. I've got land given to me. It's pretty phenomenal, like what we've got out of it, like for doing it. And just to be, I guess, one of the pioneers that started look how well Samoa did, like at the last World Cup, all those boys, I'd love to say I had an influence on it because how well our Tongan team went. And then everyone's just jumped on board with the Pacific nations.
I think it certainly changed the landscape of the game for the good. There's no doubt that there was, obviously Australia, New Zealand, England, Great Britain. Yeah. Now, because of the sacrifices that you and Jason Tolman made and all those other guys, you've now got a better Fiji, a better Samoa, a better Tonga, and I think it's pretty awesome. You talk about being given land and commander in the army. It just shows you what it really, really must mean to the people of Tonga for these guys and sacrifice what they did. And sometimes I think as English blokes, it's difficult for us to grasp.
It's like a medieval reward, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like difficult for us to grasp how much that could mean for the people, well done.
Yeah, I want to know, Dave, when you first rocked up to Wakefield, and be completely honest, because 2016, and I know you come from your humble background, and you said earlier on that your council estates where you grew up are next level compared to here. But when you walk into the town of Wakefield in 2016, were you thinking, what the fuck is this place? And how has this love affair evolved over the years?
I remember Anthony Tupou and Tiarona, they played with Cronulla with us the year before they come over. I think they watched that Bradford game because their contracts were relying on them to win. Halfway through, I started contemplating my manager and record. He goes, there's a chance for you over there if you want to go. And my older brother was already over here, and I'm like, well, talk to the wife, and I just said, what do you reckon? Should we just go travel and stuff like that? And then everyone was on board, so it was a quick move. I ended up moving over, and I remember the first day walking in, I think Chris Chester picked me up from the airport, drove into Wakey. I'm trying to ask some questions, seeing a lot of farms. Like, it's like, it's similar to home. It's like, it's all right. So far, so good. Driving into the city, I'm looking at all these shopping centres. I'm like, oh, it's not bad. Pull into the stadium, I was just going, oh, this is great. Have a look at this. And then as I walk in and walked in the dressing room, you just sit there and you say, oh, what the fuck have I done? Going from Cronulla Stadium to like this. But in saying that, I loved it. It was like at the Tigers. I remember playing 20s on the back end of the games and how packed out the stadium was and everything on them little heritage stadiums and stuff like that. It's an awesome feeling. And then, it was more the boys at the Cats. Like there was the Wildcats then. Just the boys were great. You love being around the boys and everyone it brings the bunch together. I just call us like, it was pretty much everyone's third best player in every position, and we just gel well together.
You couldn't have thought you would have been there as long as you have been when you arrived, that you would have had this sort of tale with the twists that it's had.
I originally signed just for that year, like that back end of the season, and then had an option for the second year. I had a few clubs chasing me straight after that half season to go and sign with, but everyone was just offering the same what Wakefield were offering. So you had your bigger clubs offering the same. I can't mention the clubs while I'm still playing, but after I will. They're offering the same money and I said, I'm not leaving them. After they're the ones who got me here, showed love, and it was just one of them feelings. It was just like home. You can feel it. And after we went home and come back, Jesus, it was a tough pre-season in that freezing cold. Mate, it was cold. Cold nights at Dewsbury and Fev. Oh my God, in the tin shed.
Mate, you went from Cronulla to Wakefield and thought, what the fuck? I went from Leeds to Wakefield. Now I was thinking, what the fuck's this as well?
It's only down the road.
Do you know what I mean? So God knows how you must have felt. But I remember going in there in the winter. Yeah. The bars were just solid ice cold, and I'd just gone from Kirkstall. Leeds had won all 7, 8, and 9, so they've got this good complex at Kirkstall, all top facilities, and you go there, but it's part of the buy-in. If you go there, you've got to buy into it, haven't you? And I always think at the clubs and the teams around that sort of who are scrapping all the time, if you don't have the boys, well, you've got nothing. Do you know what I mean? And
exactly.
and it's you guys and big characters that pull you through, and you know, you've just got to be able to find humour and stuff, haven't you? Otherwise, it would eat you alive, really.
Exactly. You've played against them numerous times.
Yes.
So tell me, with your pundit hat on, then, Kyle, how Dave has carved out this hero status for him at that club.
Well, he's just larger than life character, isn't he? You know, you look at Wakefield and he's one of the players that you very first think of at the club. I remember playing against him. It makes more sense now. The fact that I didn't realise you were both lean, athletic, cross-country runners. Because you'd play against him and you'd think, how the fucking hell is he still playing? He's done 40 minutes straight and given the size of him. But then when you watch him, he's smart. You know, he knows when to work and when to rest, 100%. You know, but he's crafted and carved this role out. And it suits him, and it suits Wakefield more importantly as well. And you know, they're a great fit, go hand in hand. And you know, I remember being at Wakefield, and you've got, you know, those old grounds, and obviously you got to watch him at Cass. There's not many in there, but it certainly sounds like there's a lot in there, and it carries you a bit, doesn't it? You know, and once you have the love of a crowd, as players, we're all like little dogs. We all want to be told by an head coach or by our teammates that, oh, you done great this week, well done, well done. And those places can really make you feel, they can make you feel 100 foot tall, really.
Yeah. It is amazing, though, because you see so many examples of NRL stars and people who've just, you know, grown up in that NRL system, and they come to a little old town in England or wherever, and you fall in love with the charm, the little stadium. And you know, I hear so many players that have played, and look, Andrew, you've been in front of huge crowds, right? They're playing for the Sharks. But actually they'll say, well, a quarter of the size of that crowd is far more impactful over, you know, at the Jungle than than you see in Australia.
I prefer the heritage crowds. Like you go to, I used to play at Leichhardt, favourite crowd, where they had 3 home grounds. They had also SFS, SEG, and they're just a mile away. I'd rather them on top. And the suburban grounds, like where Dave plays, I love those little crowds because they're right on top of you. You can hear the Cass fans just in the corner there, and I was loving it, especially when he gets on. He got on and it's, you fat. So I was loving it.
I'm not surprised you didn't have the shirt off one.
Yeah. I would have been in the middle. I had all the Wakefield gear on, but I'd love to be in the middle of that. But everyone was like, "Don't go over there," and I was like, "I'd love to." But
man, they've got songs about you, and your family and your kids are there watching as well. And now, you know, obviously your brother there too. It's
one of the reasons why you don't want to go back to the NRL as well. The fan base is like amazing. The way they sing all game. It's not just your crowd; it's the away crowd. It's everyone. It's the banter between the crowds. It's like an awesome feeling where you go to an NRL game.
It's quiet.
Just when they score a try, they might give you a cheer and clap. I think the only song Andrew got, they were sailing Andrew on his last game or something like that.
Yeah, they were just chanting. But like, literally, like, I haven't seen a crowd like that. And our Tongan crowds like are crazy. They sing 24/7.
Yeah.
There's always a voice coming through, and all the boys that come from Origin, who play State of Origin, they're the biggest crowds of our game. Like, but in saying that, it's quiet unless something happens. They go off. Where, like, I went to the game on the weekend, they didn't shut up. Like, it was non-stop. I love that kind of stuff. So if I ever had the chance, I'd be in the crowd. If I scored a try, I'm telling you, I'm up. Wherever stand, my crew is, even if it's them, I'm going straight in. I love that kind of stuff. That's why I can see how Larry Davies when he's chirping up with the crowds. And the one thing, and everyone always asks me, like, where's your favourite field to play? And I always used to say Queensland. Because everyone's hostility, like everyone's on your back, everyone's trying to think. But for us, we thrive off that.
Yeah.
Like, he was getting caught off on the weekend, but like, what they don't understand, we love that. Because why? If we do something special, where do you think we're going back to? Straight back to that corner going, just... That was always one thing my mum would say, just do something good and go give them blow them a kiss. And trust me, when I watch them, they get more...
Smile and wave.
Yeah, that's why we always poke a smile on your face. If we've got a frown on your face, you know we're having a tough day.
Do you still sort of feel that? I mean, I guess, do you have that kind of I don't give a fuck attitude because you've been the underdogs, where you've come from, you've not felt that you've had to prove anything right anyone wrong because you were happy where you were before. So you've been very sort of relaxed and stress free through your careers.
I just go into every game thinking the same thing. You're going out to play under-8s footy. I remember just playing alongside with Andrew every game, and it's just fun. If I don't see him laughing or smiling on one side of the field, then I'm not doing something right. And that's how you go into every game. Like, I don't worry who you're versing, or I don't worry about what's in front of me. I just worry like how they're going to. If they see me running offending someone, and I just start laughing, they're going to get more angry and pissed off, want to come out and get you. And that's how you draw them in, really. But I just think, like, every game's just like that. Go out and have fun. If you start thinking more of it's like a business and stuff like that, it's not going to be for you. That's it.
Dave, we are heading towards the back end of the year, and maybe perhaps some of the players, you know, are starting to feel that bit of pressure. It's now not becoming fun. There's something serious potentially going to happen here. Obviously, you coming back over certainly, you know, re-energised the team. You grabbed a couple of wins. Obviously, that defeated Cass. What does the next sort of month and a half look like? How desperate are the lads, and what, you know, do you still believe that you can close this very, very narrow gap down?
Yeah, mate, like going into the game, like win or lose, like it didn't bother us. You know what I mean? Like we were 6 points. I think we were 6 points behind them at one stage, and like we said, we thrive on at home. We still got 3 more home games, and for some reason we can't beat the lower end teams, but the bigger teams we end up doing it.
It's always been Wakefield's story.
So that's
yeah.
So, but we just go into every week. There's still 5 games. There's 10 points. There's still ages to go. Like it's anyone's game, really. If, Saints go and do a job this week at Cast and we win this week, we're back to square one. So it's just, we know every game's a grand final, but it's how you go into every game. If you go in nervous and worrying about things, it's going to stress everyone out. And that's what I try to be, that person in the middle. Like I'll tell them where they're going wrong, but at the same time, bring some humour to them and have a laugh just at the right times of getting in there.
Because obviously, you know, the club obviously cares about you, bringing you back. You obviously care about the club. What would be your thoughts if the club did end up getting relegated while you were there?
Oh, it would hurt. Like, it probably hurt me a lot more. Like I said, there was everything at stake. I didn't have to come back. I was happy at home. We've just set up everything at home and everything like that. It would hurt just by if they got relegated. It hurt me a lot more. I got more at risk. I've got a young family. I've got my wife's due in 10 days. So I just feel like I've wasted my time coming over here trying to help this team and help this club and help the fans and everything. I'm just trying to play my best footy I can to try to keep us up. But I still got a lot of belief in us to do the job. Like we've got a lot of momentum. We've had a hiccup in the last couple of weeks, but yeah, we're coming back firing this week.
Well, if you keep them up, you know, there's no doubt I'm not going to go as far as saying you'll get some land in Wakefield, but
I've already got land in Wakefield. That's all I know. If someone was the boy,
but mate, if you were part of that and kept them up, mate, you'd be, you know, whenever you step back into Wakefield, they
building a new stadium.
That's a lot of
iron. Say they're building a new stadium.
I just want the away fan and want Boppa's Grubs over here or something like that.
Little burger on there. Something like that.
There'd be a stand then after him somewhere, wouldn't there?
Oh, brilliant.
How much gas is left in the tank then? I mean, we speak to so many players again who said, I'm just here just to help them out. And then how tempted would you be to go again,
No,
Is this the final dance?
I'm probably going to say 98% sure this is
so there's 2%
now.
now.
2%. It depends on the wife if she puts one more season, but mate, I can feel it. Like training's getting a lot harder at this age, and trying to keep up with that younger generation coming through. Everything's quick, and just trying to get ready. I'm trying to go like this through the week, and then game day we're back up, trying to get your body right. But I do feel good. Like I do feel good still, like myself and everything like that. But I just feel like it's time. Like could be time. More for the future. No, not again. No.
This is like a James Roby retirement, isn't it?
It's never going to happen.
But what about you, Andrew? Because obviously you hung your boots up last year. No, you're done. But I mean, was that realisation so clear for you that it had to be the end? Or
I was going to re-sign. I know I was even talking to Dave. If he goes again, I'm coming over. And then when you leave a club, you get your medicals. And then I was like, do I leave just for the 1 year and come over and join him and have that last hurrah with the person I started with to finish with. And Wakefield they were willing to be that club for us to play with. But when I signed out and got the medicals, I was feeling my knee a bit, but I got both ankles, both knees, both like my hip, both shoulders, elbows, and a lot of results come back was just Rico. And I was just like, I was playing with all this and I didn't even know. So that was, soon I left the doctor's surgery, I was just like, Nick, I'm done. So I got to think of my kid's future and that, and that's when it really hit me. It was like, I'm done. But to be honest, like I knew footy was done, and everyone's asked, do you miss it? Do you miss it? No. But after watching him play on the weekend, I really do miss it.
And I guess you haven't been out of it long enough to miss it properly,
Yeah.
right?
Well, that's the main thing, and having a little game on the weekend over here with.
So you're not advertising.
He's still playing fourth division.
Oh no, I've got a broken leg. I barely moved.
I don't reckon he played. He was just out there for show, just a big decoy
Come
runner.
on, man. I've got to try, keep the goal.
I want to know how many broken legs that 70-year-old's got.
Maybe a few ribs.
It is an interesting one when it's coming to an end, isn't it? Because I guess you were speaking to Flash and to Wilco about what do you miss? Straight away they both said don't miss anything, don't miss waking up on a Monday morning with cuts and scars and bruises and feeling injured and so on. When I ask you both, because I guess if you look at their careers from a distance, obviously Andrew's got the shinier career with the Australia caps and the silver and so on.
Everything.
You've had a very different career and shiny in different ways.
Yeah.
Do you
Nothing shiny.
but do you both sit back, and I know you're still going for a bit longer, but do you both sit back and think you kind of maximise what you could get out of your ability and you're happy with your careers and what you did?
Yeah, there's no regrets. Like growing up for a whole childhood, what we did, everything like that, and even with our rugby league side, I could honestly say, like, sit in and watch what he did. Proud as like me and my older brother watching him for all these compliments. Oh, fuck, I can't say it properly.
Compliments. Yeah, so that's why I wrote it.
And but he's paved the path for our kids and our family in the future, because they always say, you got to know someone to get in the clubs. That's what it was like over there. You got to know someone. There's so-and-so in your team. This is like someone's son, stuff like that. But we'll, like it for all our kids, we're just going to, mate, you need to work there yourself, work hard for yourself and do everything. We can mentor and help you get to like things you need to know, but it's you the ones who are going to do trials, and you're the one who's going to put your body first. But always have a home over here, so I'm sure if the family want to come to Wakefield, which... leaving the Shire probably won't want to come to Wakefield, but there'll always be a home here and a name over here for himself, and that's what I've just tried to do. And for myself, it's another home from home. It's great.
I know it wasn't your wildest dreams, so I'm kind of asking you the question then, did you achieve everything beyond your wildest dreams? I mean, you weren't asked in the first place, really, were you? But you had an unbelievable innings.
I'm more than satisfied with, how my I guess my journey panned out. I feel like I'm at the start of my new journey where, I'm doing school counselling and working with the Sharks still as the cultural advisor at the club, and still do first grade. But, going back to your question where what do you miss most was just, I guess, that inbound, that I think you don't understand when you go on with just the boys, you grind with them from like November. I think that's when you start every year as well. From November right through to February, then you switch on to, all right, we're in game. You're with these blokes every day. I think I miss that bit. It's like you build a bond between a playing group where they're more of your best mates going on this journey together. And then at the end of the year, like, I think winning the grand final for me was the worst thing I ever did.
Why?
Because I expected that every year. And if I didn't get that, I felt so bad that the next year I was going even harder and trying to push for that glory again.
But you've got it and no one can take that away from you.
I get that, but you want more. And it's greedy when you say it, but
did that not drive you? Did that not drive you further for more? That perhaps you might not have had that drive at the end of your career.
I tried my ass off, but it just I don't think 16 other boys would drive with me. Like I said, it's no iron team. It's the whole squad, and I felt like I was doing little things on Christmas Day where, in my head, every other person was enjoying Christmas, where I was working my fucking ass off, or going on road runs, or just doing that where I could have a little edge. All right, I've got him. I've got that edge. When's the next one? I'll go New Year's night because I know everyone's on the piss. I'll do that little edge where kind of do my little stuff in the background. I hope everyone else was doing the same thing. So, no, I enjoyed my career. I really did. Every accolade, I pretty much did nearly everything in the game. I won nearly everything in the game, if not more. I changed. I think the biggest thing was changing international football. for the better. I feel like if we're talking about growing the game, it's pretty much at the peak where we've brought these Pacific nations up to the elite level where it's not just Australia, England, New Zealand, and just going around in circles between them, who's going to win. Now we have all these Pacific nations who are coming through the game, and it's just absolutely killing it.
Are you passionate about staying in the game somehow when it's done for you and now it's done for you?
No, it's gone.
Whether that's with Tonga, whether that's with the NRL, whether that's with Wakefield?
I'm currently doing my level 2 coaching, but they said, you want to do it in the rep system? I said, no, I just want to coach my son. Probably staying in the game more around that junior footy, helping the next crops come through.
So we're not going to see you at the back of a Wakefield dugout somewhere up in the stand with some headsets on?
The only probably picture, we'll probably see a little photo in a corner on I don't know, like a food truck or something.
Running the burger man.
Yeah, that's probably it.
No, but in all seriousness, you could never see yourself as a coach in England.
No, mate. You'd love to, like, an assistant role where you're still, like, in with the boys, but more switched on with the coaching staff as well.
Yeah.
It's a good job, but for family-wise we need to be back all together as a family, and all my kids running around with, like...
Is that in the land in Tonga, or is that back in Australia?
Australia for sure, mate. Fire up.
What's happening with the land in Tonga? That's what I
Just sitting there growing grass.
Just sitting there. Old man's and that just running amok on it.
Yeah.
A few hotel
my old
buildings.
man, they're still out west in Sydney, so we're there for the time being. We don't mind going back and seeing family back home, but other than that, no coaching, no nothing like that.
And I noticed, Carly, that Andrew mentioned counselling and so on. So, I mean, given the background and everything that you sort of painted, the image of you as a youngster and being in trouble and running away from the police and driving tractors into creeks and so on, how important is that for you to sort of give something back?
I just feel my life lessons gel a lot more with some of these high school kids that are coming up in Sydney at the moment. Especially around in Griffith, we have the highest suicide rate in pretty much Australia at the moment. Yeah. I think there's been, what was this last day? About 24 teenagers, majority boys, have taken their life in the last 5 years. Like it's down there, it's becoming just a thing where we're just trying to break that stigma. So anytime I can get back down there and try and help the mentor the kids and that, and just show that there's other avenues in life. That's the main thing about pushing forward with this. Because
this is the thing, we see these two here, and they're like the sort of Ant and Dec, but like they've eaten Ant and Dec, and they're constantly smiling. They're a great double act.
Ant and Dec.
But you've always got, like, you two have always got this smile on your face, and people will always wonder, well, is there a time when that hasn't been there for you? Because you've had some dark times, but is your method just to smile through and live through life to the max that you can?
Yeah. Seeing a smile, probably my family's faces will probably do it. There are some tough times and stuff like that. But like being over here, I think one of the worst times was when he got hit last year or year before, 21, with his neck injury and stuff like that. It wasn't a good feeling going into, I think we versed Warrington that day, and that morning waking up and didn't even know. I think I was about to leave for the game, and someone's called and said, your brother's in a coma. So it was one of them ones, and I would never forget Andy Last was trying to rip me out of the game, and he said, you sure you want to do this? And I said, no, I've got nothing. And I spoke to his wife, and she's like, David, you just have to stay there. Just stay there. They're going to wake him up tomorrow. It's been like an induced coma. Was that
on your mind all 80 minutes, the whole game?
Pretty much. I ended up getting man of match for us. So I don't know what happened.
But even Pricey was telling me, Pricey's at our club now, and he was versing Pricey's team at Warrington. And he even said he come straight after the game and grabbed him straight away, because Pricey means the world to me. For Steve Price, he's a different human being, but like when I first met Steve, mate, I threw the chair at him and everything. Like it was at a level like, don't do video and try and blame me for something. And I threw the chair straight across the room at the TV.
He's firing.
Where we were firing at each other, and he would come up to me and he goes, that guy's better than you. You got shit. And I was like, fuck, don't talk to me like that. I'll bash her. But like that was the thing, like, and then we had this conflict for one whole year, but then the next year we became best mates.
Yeah.
It was, I don't know, there's something with Steve, and I remember him telling me the story. He said the same thing, and then Steve said, oh mate, you don't understand. I wanted to stop the game and go grab him and just get him off the field and give him a hug. So that was our connection between each other. So,
Well, once again, we mentioned about Pricey there. We've spoken a number of times, the power of a coach, and what, you know, and to go from, that's a bit bizarre, really, to go from throwing chairs at screens to then being your best mate. It's it takes a real man manager to be able to draw that out of you. So, no, pretty.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the injury obviously was horrific. How impactful was that on you, and perhaps on your decision to retire and other things, or?
It was. Look, I took it day by day. I knew it was going to be a tough journey. I woke up, I think after a week, once someone was leaking in our COVID hotel. We all moved to Brisbane, and it was pretty much my wife just come out of the 2-week quarantine, and we just got our families back, and it happened that weekend. And then all that just kind of fell in. And when I woke up, I felt like I thought they did something to my neck. I was a quadriplegic. I couldn't move. I was trying to move, and I couldn't get going. And it was a very long journey. Like my goals were to walk to that table and back. And if I did that, I was in bed for 3 hours just trying to sleep it out. But the worst, and I always say the worst injury is that trachea. I feel so sorry for the people who have to have those in for life. And look, I found the joy. I was always questioning myself mentally, and I didn't want to, until I met this Lex girl. That's when I was like, the parents were so happy, like they were so buzzy, and I was just like, mate, that's her daughter laying in the bed. And literally, like, it was like that moment made me click, like, I don't want my kids doing this. I'm so thankful it was me. And then from then, gave me motivation to get it. And I remember having this window, like I was like, I've got to get to this window. And then I thought it was 300 metres down the hallway. It was literally 10 metres away. But for a person who couldn't walk, I was on, like, trying to get, like, on the machines and that kind of stuff, trying to get there. But it was a long journey. It was honestly, it was most way the toughest thing I've ever had to do in my life. But
Here to tell the tale. Yeah. Look, we've kept you guys long enough. It's been brilliant having you here, and I know you've been waiting around for so. Let's finish with some quick fires for the twins. Quick ones, ready?
Both laughing now.
Who weighs more currently?
yeah, me.
What, are you kidding?
Wait, I haven't moved. I had a big knee injury. I couldn't move. But
Same.
he was
Before I
always
got
bigger
back to
than me.
Wakefield, fire.
Who's taller?
It's
Probably
him.
me. Yeah, probably me.
David's taller. Who's
Maybe
faster?
because I grew.
I'm faster. Don't let him talk for him, mate.
Oh, they're not agreeing on that one.
Nah, fuck no. I would burn him. Maybe now on my knee and that.
More intelligent.
Me.
Me? I don't think it's...
Yeah,
I
think
think
this
it's
is
just got to go one way.
Can we go back in the film and show he couldn't say the word and then straight away?
I think for the purpose of people listening, you have to shout your names to the answers to these, well, other than me. Who's the nicer guy?
Oh, of course, me. Nah, you know what, Dave.
I got you.
You gave that one
I'll
up.
give it Dave, yeah, 100%. Because if I don't like you, I don't fucking like you.
Who was the
And I've got no fear in telling it to you.
Who was the better rugby player in his peak?
Yeah,
So you said that earlier, Andrew, as well. Yeah, you given that to me, and you just accept. You didn't even
I
say.
accept it. It depends what position. Fine.
Who'd win in an arm wrestle?
Oh, me.
Probably him. Yeah, fire out.
I love
back,
weights.
skinny
I
back,
love
mate.
weights and that kind of stuff. He just icy bars. Just doesn't touch it.
Who's better looking, Andrew or David?
Of course.
Come on.
He's had one girlfriend the whole year.
Take his teeth out. Look at that.
Take his teeth.
He's got no teeth.
Still getting with it.
Who's longer in the shower?
Me.
Oh.
Me.
Yeah, probably him.
100%.
I get in the shower.
Just because I'm very far, I'm like, I want to be clean. And he just,
In and out.
yeah, ringworm central.
Show me your ring.
Who's more reliable?
Oh,
Me.
definitely me.
You're
Definitely me.
fucking kidding.
100% me.
Mate, look, who's
I'm
more
that
reliable?
rule.
Look, fuck, I rocked up for your master. You wouldn't come back to Australia for me.
I was there for your last game. You know what? I wasn't there for his last game.
See?
He made the semis. I said, you better win the first ones, then I'll be there for that game. And they went bang, bang, lost, they're out. That was it.
Who's more sensitive?
Me.
Probably a bit of both. I reckon me as well.
Depends on what, like,
So, if it's happening to him.
Down the middle, that's a draw, that one,
Yeah.
I think. Which twins would win in a fight? Fifita twins, the Morris twins, Josh and Brett.
We always get this. Fuck, I'd flog the fuck out of them both of them. I was getting a flog.
Get them all in. Get them all in.
I'm going to fucking flog.
Get all the twins. I don't give a
Same
fuck.
question. George and Tom.
Fuck both of them two up. I didn't give a fuck.
Now we've got these quick feet and everything like that.
What about Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito?
I'd fuck them two up too.
You can have Schwartz on it.
I've got no fear. I'd fucking flog the but I can't box anymore because of my neck, but I'll fucking
Never have we had an out of your league episode with more bleeps. I'd love to see what the producers do with it. We'll have to let a few of the C-bombs slide and then maybe just stick a few over there. Boys, it's been an absolute pleasure having you in. I mean, if the post-match sort of like world in rugby and counting doesn't work out, just a TV career, I think.
Brilliant.
So we're going to get these boys on at least your own podcast.
That's why we do podcasts, because you can be who you are and stuff like that. But if you're on the
why aren't you
TV
doing your own
side, just
podcast?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
You should be doing your own podcast.
Oh, we did. I got the Half-Cast podcast, a couple of UFC guys, and then Australian media. I called one of the media guys. I said, excuse my French, but he's a fucking and then from that moment, he rang the club, he rang the chairman, he called the media. Oh, here's the media, but like he blew up through the papers and everything, and said what I said, and then it was a big thing, so I couldn't do the
pretty
podcast.
much a similar situation with a player over here, isn't it?
They are bitchy podcasts.
I'm about to bring one out with a mate of mine, just to tell some of my stories. I wasn't allowed to speak on some of the stuff I did and through my career, but yeah, I really want to get off my chest. And you know, if you go on the internet, it says I bashed a referee, but nothing ever happened. Like it was totally bullshit. So yeah.
Look, absolute pleasure having you guys down. Look, go well, Dave. At the end of this Wakefield, there's still a story to tell. There's still another chapter here.
There's a burger van to build as well.
Exactly, and a stand, and a statue.
Keeps on being a hero back in Sydney.
What about a statue out of burgers? That could be resurrected outside the
I'll
stadium.
probably come back and eat them.
Boys, thanks so much for coming in. Thank you for listening, everyone. Carl, top man as well. I think we're slowly going from 4.9 stars up towards 5. Maybe when Flash comes back, again, keep it on mute.
Might go down a 3 if he comes back.
I'll send Flash your regards.